Hey, everybody. Now, I was just told that I say this to all of my panelists that they have an exceptional story to tell, but that's not actually true. Like, I am really excited about this panel, and I want you to hear about their successes and their foibles along the way. I'm sure we'll hear about those too. But they really, I'm impressed. So, without any further delay, let me introduce formally this week's panel. You wrote the book. You poured your expertise, your stories, and your strategy into every chapter. Now it's published. And while that's a huge accomplishment, it's not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of your book's real impact. Because a book on its own doesn't build a business. That comes from how you share it, how you talk about it, and how you use it to spark conversations with the right people, readers who can become clients, collaborators, and even champions of your work. And that's the work that I do as a book launch strategist. I help entrepreneurs design book launches that aren't about going viral. They're about building visibility, credibility, and connections. And we focus on the right systems using launch teams and virtual events, personalized outreach, and of course, strategic content, all built to make your book work for your business. If you're ready to treat your business as a serious asset, not just a finished project, let's talk. Schedule a complimentary 30-minute book launch brainstorming session at booklaunchbrainstorm.com. And now, let me introduce today's panelists. With me today, I have Tissa Richards, who wrote Rethinking Resilience, Fueling Your Competitive Advantage, a bold and practical guide that reframes resilience as a leadership asset, empowering executives and entrepreneurs to lead with clarity, confidence, and impact in high-stakes environments. We also have Laurie Seymour, who wrote Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source, a reflective and deeply spiritual book that helps readers access their inner wisdom and reconnect with their true essence, inviting a more grounded, purpose-driven way of living and leading. And we also have Susan Schramm, who wrote Fast Track Your Big Idea, Navigate Risk, Move People to Action, and Avoid Your Strategy Going Off Course, a results-oriented playbook for mission-driven leaders ready to turn bold ideas into real outcomes without getting derailed by uncertainty, resistance, or overwhelm. Please join me in welcoming Laurie, Susan, and Tissa. Laurie, I'm going to kick things over to you. I'd love to hear a little bit more about who your ideal reader is for your book, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. So my ideal reader is really those people who are looking for more in their lives. They know there's more. They may not know quite what that's about or how to reach that, but they have that sensibility that there's a whole inner world that they want to uncover, discover, and then bring forward in their own way of creating what they want to create in the world.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Susan, let's bring you into the conversation as well. Who did you write your book for? Who's the ideal reader?
A frustrated person with a great idea who can't figure out why it's not moving fast enough. And that might be a board leader, a CEO, it could be a community leader, someone in a church, but someone who really has a strong vision for what's possible, but is just not comfortable that they've got it all figured out and people aren't taking action as fast as they'd like.
I can think of a few people now, maybe myself in earlier iterations. Wow, what a great 2 books that have caught my interest. Tissa, share a little bit about the reader that you had in mind.
Yeah, so Rethinking Resilience was written for leaders and people who are just living their lives and who are tired of being told that resilience is about bouncing back from hard things. So that's like living in this reactive survival mode, and instead are ready to embrace a different definition for the world that we live in now, which is full of disruption, full of uncertainty, but also full of opportunity. And what the thesis of the book is that you can build intentional resilience as a muscle so that you're always ready, you're much more steady, and you can really avoid burnout and actually build resilience as a competitive advantage in your leadership and your life and enjoy all the things that come along with that.
What I love is the 3 of you are here by happenstance of your calendar availability, and yet, as disparate as your book topics are, there's like a groundedness, like facing uncertainty, navigating, moving forward, finding the path for you. I love that there are these common themes. Now, Susan, I know this is book 1 for you. Is this book 1 for anyone else? All right, for Laurie as well. Okay, so we're gonna go Susan and then Laurie. Susan, I have this question for first time authors, which I just know a lot of people who want to write a book. I happen to know more than most. I know a lot of people who want to write a book. And I am amazed when people do, because I do know that feeling when you're in the process of starting to write that can hold you back, those voices in your head, the like, who am I to write a book kind of voices. So I'm curious for you, Susan, what came up for you and how did you counteract that in order to create this thing that now exists in the world?
You know, it's interesting because I did not start trying to write a book. I wanted
Maybe
to,
that's the secret.
right. I wanted to move people to action. And I felt so frustrated. I personally spent most of my career launching things, and I got really frustrated when things didn't go well. And I stepped back and thought, what's causing? Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. And I realized that, and I started researching and interviewing people truly out of my own curiosity. And over time, I started applying some of those concepts with my clients and workshops, and I started to realize, oh, this is really important. It's called the people side of risk, which they often underestimate. And so little by little, people said, you should write this down. And I did. Much of my book, I piloted in workshops or in LinkedIn articles or whatever. And over time, I started realizing I should not just write it down. I should encapsulate it in a way people who I couldn't reach might get. So some I work with personally, but if I couldn't reach someone, there's so many good ideas in the world. And wouldn't it be sad if all the energy was put in and it was a big ta-da and then failed? So I'd say, it became a book, but it started off as really an urgency to help people, equip people so that they actually have sustainable results instead of, initial results.
Here's all the amazing things you did. I want to now tell you what you did that you may not realize you had done, and this is how other people might pull from your story and apply it to their own. You validated as you went the content. You created the content in response to the needs of the people that you were meeting with. You shared the content in a way that allowed people to use it and give you feedback as they were using it. And you were documenting your processes and creating frameworks along the way. People started to ask you to make it accessible in other format, right? Like you were building the audience that needed something, that knew you had that solution, and they were like, well, I want to be able to tell other people about this. Why don't there a book? And at that point, there's no question, like the book's going to be written and you already have all the content you feel really confident about. So what's the thing that held you up? So knowing you did all that really well.
It took 3 years.
Okay. We'll give you that. It was hard to prioritize, maybe.
And to be honest, the perfectionism. You have this high standard for what you want to deliver. And I did. It was vulnerable because when you started sharing it, early readers, I was about to push the darn button to send it to the next phase so it could be put up on Amazon. And I had 2 feedbacks that were really, that resonated so much that if I'd already put the button, I probably would have said, oh yeah, well, next book. But I hadn't. And one of them was, Susan, are you writing a book or a master's thesis? That was eye-opening. Oh. Because I had 150 notes of research because a lot of my energy was put into validate. I had this premise, but is it true, right? So I did a lot of other research. And this one woman who actually wanted to publish my book said, Susan, you're the expert. You don't need to have all this research, right? So that was an eye-opener. And the second one was a person who actually, who gave me wonderful endorsements, was a client, a peer. He'd played many roles in my life. And he said, section 3 through 6 is awesome. And section 1 and 2 are really weak. And that was, I was about to push the button. So anyway, those were both points where I had to reflect on what is it about this that I want to change before I come to market. And what I also did was I stopped and I started using it, really actively using it. And that helped me get it shorter because my book is less than 200 pages. And even though it's a very, very helpful system to help you launch any idea. I didn't want it to look intimidating. And so cutting it down, I did that through actually having people use it.
Thank you so much for going into more detail about that, because it sounded like you were just on smooth sailing. So it's helpful for people to know that even with that, it's iterative. It's an iterative process, and you end up with a better outcome if you don't rush forward. Like, I think that there's a way in which, like, I don't know, we treat the publication date like a hot potato. Like, we don't want to hold on to that date for more than we need to. So we got to let it go. So we just want to move on. And we forget there's a whole nother world after the book. Laurie, could you just share how you approach this process of writing a book? What was there a spark for you that caused it? Or like, how did you get there and to actually do it?
Well, I've been writing a lot and publishing a lot over the years. And I started the book, truth be told, this is a 9-year cycle. I know once this airs, will be into the 1 year, but I started it right at the very beginning of this 9-year cycle. I didn't even realize that until about 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And I did it in a very concerted time period. And the heart of it was really created then. But then I went back to it. I let it go. I let it go, obviously, for years. And then it was really working in me, because it's both my story, a compilation of all the work I've been doing for years, and a lot of, here's what's happening and here's next steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it was time to bring it back out, it was very much of an alive process, where I was not thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to publish this. It was more like, oh, okay, now you need an editor. I got an editor. Oh, now you need a cover designer. I got a cover designer. And as much as I can be a planner, this wasn't done from that energy. It was really from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And it also wasn't done, which is interesting to be on this panel, as it's going to be my business card or my adjunct to my business. I am the adjunct to my business, and so therefore this is.
So for those who are following along from home, Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source is the book that Laurie's talking about. And Susan was just talking about fast track your big idea, navigate risk, move people to action, and avoid your strategy going off course. I want to mention David Newman, who's an author that's been a part of our Kindle flash sales, and I'm working with him on his launch. And he's prolific. He's really well known. And he just wrote an email about the word don't. Like, you have all these intentions for 2026. One of the best things you can do is figure out what you're not going to do. Don't do that thing. Maybe it's not the right time. Like, hold space for it, but don't feel like you have to rush things forward. It's just a lot of, like, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And Tissa, you made a decision to do book 2, and you learned a lot, I imagine, from book 1. So how did, like, gosh, what a different world you live in when you're now an author writing a second book. Like, you've seen around the corner, and you've decided to go on that journey again, which is itself shocking. So what approached different about it? Like, were you different about your goals, about how you wrote, about the collaborations of the team? Like, how did you learn from the book 1 and apply it to book 2?
Yeah, I think that and I'm already working on book 3, which is really dumb because book 2 has only been out for 2 months. But I think what was really the only thing that was different was how I approached the launch. Because book 1, I just put out in the world and went, well, people will find it. Isn't that what they say? Build it, people will come. And it is true. Over the 3.5 years it's been out now, people continue to find it, but it's slow. So I was much more intentional about, this is why we work together, Robbie. Like, let's make this an official launch. But in terms of the writing process, it was not much different. Both of the books, from first pen to paper to publication, were about 9.5 months. So very quick for both of them. And the process, editing, the developmental editors, all that, it was all very similar. So the actual and the intentions for both were the same. It was, I realized I was saying a lot of the same things over and over. Every time I speak or, I do a keynote, people say, if you have a book, we'll buy it. And I thought, okay, this is the right time to do this. So in terms of how it supports your other work, Everything else was the same except the intentionality with which I did the launch and continue to nurture that, I think.
Why do you think you did it differently for the second book? Were you not happy with the slow discovery of the first book? Did you feel urgency about getting the message out? Like, what made you decide that this book deserved a different approach for that launch?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, for those listening at home, I'll just say the name of the book again: Rethinking Resilience, Fueling Your Competitive Advantage. All right, go for it.
Yeah. Well, it's actually something I think that you said to me when we first met, which was, it's great to have that bestseller, top new release, but it's really, really ephemeral, right? That decays after 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever it is.
Days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
What lasts is that volume of reviews and the credibility that you build over time. And this book is much more closely linked to the speaking tour that I'm on now, the workshops that I do now. It's just it has such a more one-to-one relationship. And it made a lot more sense to me to really link that credibility and that campaign to the other work that I'm doing. So it just made more sense to put more resources and time into the launch and making sure that the launch was not just a one day, hey, it's available, go buy it, thank you, but to keep it sort of in people's consciousness, because that's so much of the work that I'm doing now.
We're going to come back and talk about your review count, but I'm going to go back to Laurie. Laurie, you and I haven't worked together in your launch. Susan read my book and followed it. Tissa and I worked directly together. Laurie, is that what you're saying you did as well? Because you've got 62 global ratings and 62 written reviews, 100% somehow. That's amazing. It's that's phenomenal. Over 50, totally phenomenal. When did your book come out? This book that we're talking about?
August 11th.
Okay. Wow. So it's just only in the last few months. And so my book was out before then. All right. So tell me, how you figured this all out.
I was part of your launch. And I absolutely followed what you teach. I didn't do it step by step. I guess when yours was coming out, I didn't have access to all the pieces soon enough, or I might have done it step by step, but I did it pretty closely. And that made all the difference in the world towards getting all the reviews that I've gotten to date.
I mean, it's an incredible response. And Susan and I met to talk about her results after she had done her launch, because I was like, I wanted to get the takeaway. So what is your sort of takeaway about DIYing, but having a process to follow?
Yeah.
What are some lessons learned? And you said you might do things slightly differently, but it feels like you got great results. So
yeah, and I have a huge audience, both my own audience from all the years of being in my own business and doing my work, and I also have a 10-year podcast, so I've got all those guests to call on. And between all of that, I wrote to all of them. I one-to-one. It was not a hey on a mass email list, and then interacted with people. So it was a really important, an important mind shift, really. Don't just, as you just have already been saying, don't just do it to get all these sales. Don't be so interested in going viral, but get the substance behind it. And the quality of the reviews that were coming in were making me cry, some of them.
I know they're I'm just going through it for all of you. There's these paragraphs. This isn't one line, 2 lines. It's people are writing you paragraphs, bullet points, detailed reviews, going above and beyond in a lot of ways. I love the people who take a photo with the book or a screenshot of a page in the book, and then you're they're really into this, you invite them on this journey, and they're let's do it. Let's make that happen. Susan, you had a background with launches, with doing products. I mean, it feels like you were not afraid of the process. You needed a process sort of laid out for you. You were I see this, I can follow these steps. What was your experience with that? And I'll just, before you speak, I want to share that you have 73 global ratings and 70 written reviews. So again, the two of you, DIY, you bought my book. Good job. I'm very, very happy for you. But what was that experience like doing it as an author, though?
And Robbie, anytime someone says, how did you launch your book? And they give me all sorts of accolades, I every single time give you credit, because so much of what I think that jumps out to people is that it's a relational strategy. It is not a volume transactional strategy. And I actually used it something about coming out with a book allowed me to have an incredible confidence in reaching out to people who I haven't spoken to for decades. And some of that was because some of the lessons learned and scars I was sharing in the book, I learned right next to them. And there's still hundreds and hundreds of people I can use this opportunity to have conversations. And that is really fun. And I think the other thing is, yes, the irony is my book is about launching things and you are helping me launch something. So it's nice to have a coach, as I am trying to be, helping people thoughtfully plan not just for the ta-da moment, but for the sustaining nature of it. And to Tissa's point, resilience that has to come from the setbacks that are there. So I appreciated the simplicity. My VAs and I would actually pull out your book and say, okay, now where are we? And I mean, it was a very, very prescriptive approach. So I really think it's brilliant.
The best thing, as you all know, as authors, that anyone can say is they read your book and actually took action. Like, that's the best compliment ever. But even better when they go, I don't want to do all that work. So Tissa,
the lazy person on the call.
No, I mean, there's a strategy to it. I mean, you were called to go in 17 directions. I think Susan and I had talked about there's a time money balance here, right? Like, there were things that she couldn't do because she was doing this. She had the skills to do it, but it does take a lot of effort. And particularly because we're not mass doing things. There's this hyper personalized effort. So you knew you wanted to do a different approach to launching. My approach spoke to you. What was that experience like from the side of, being the author who had a team behind you doing this?
Yeah. And the reason I chose that was that, I mean, just as Susan said, right, it was all laid out in the book. My editor said, you should read this book. It's great. And I read it and I thought, okay, yes, I love everything. I'm sure I could do it, but I am totally booked out from, September through the end of the year. And then again, starting in January to go and speak. And so I just thought, what you need to outsource so that you can still have time to shower. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a public service, right? So I just thought, we're gonna get Ravi to do this. So and it was so successful. I mean, I think there was two really big takeaways. One, outsource what people do really well so you can do what you do the best at. That's takeaway number one. And then takeaway number two was I was really moved. I mean, Laurie, you said this, right? You read some of your reviews and you're like, wow, it's so beautiful. People really read the book and they love it, but also just the people who showed up, the people who they didn't just say, yeah, okay, I'll do it, but they showed up to all the things, all the launch parties and the whatever. And I think it just also shows you that the power of your community is huge. And I spend a lot of time intentionally nurturing my network and my community. And part of the work I do is to curate humans together. But to see that come back to you it was just very powerful to see that. So it was a beautiful experience.
I don't know anyone going through a launch, getting to the other side and saying anything other than that was exhausting. So the fact that you just said that was a beautiful experience. I mean,
it was tiring, but it was also beautiful.
Yeah, it's right. Couple of things I want to note about what you just said, and I think this probably applies to all three of you. If you don't already have an engaged network, my steps will be less successful.
Yeah.
So I have a client I'm working with who is struggled to get over 100 people on the launch team after asking thousands. Has maybe 24 advanced reviews. Like a real effort to try to pull things. And he said, why would these prospects do this for me? I mean, they're strangers. And I was like, oh, so clearly, Tissa, you've been nurturing this community, like, gathering people, and all of you have been doing that. And if you don't have that, like, Laurie's had a podcast for a decade, like Susan's very engaged in her community. I think those things matter. And I just want to mention that because it's like, I didn't say that in the book because I don't think it dawned on me that there were people out there who would want this process that didn't already engage their community. Susan, what do you want to share?
I would say, I don't know about the point about already has to be engaged, because your old book, what's it called? Little List,
Small List, Big Results.
Something like that. In other words, I get intimidated being around all of you guys, like thousands and thousands. I get lots of imposter syndrome in my life. And especially hanging out with all these authors was very intimidating. But one point you made is, you didn't say it this way, but I'm going to say it. You're old. You've been around the world a long time, and you know a lot of people.
Not a direct quote, but yes.
You're grown up, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? It's true. I have been through chapter and chapter and chapter, and it's been so fun because, I have people who knew me in high school who've written reviews, and I have people who've known me as a consultant just more recently. I mean, and the idea that the chapters of your life lead you to different kinds of networks. And then they don't have to be engaged. You do have to wake them up by reaching out, and it's on you. It's not magically going to happen. But if you have someone who can think about the other thing I will do is, I really didn't get comfortable in saying, hey, help me with my book. What I really got comfortable with was, I'm helping mission-focused leaders change the world. If you'd like to be part of that, I'd love you to help me reach them. And that just somehow that just completely changed my perspective about what I was doing.
I love that. And I think what I would counter with is that every era of your life, you've been a show up person for the people in your world. And if you haven't talked to someone for 15 or 25 years, it doesn't matter. They will remember you for how you made them feel when you knew them, to borrow a phrase. And that like idea that the invitation to be part of something bigger, like it is all inviting. It's a mindset, and if you feel like you're begging, if the whole process of the launch, you feel like you're bothering people, then this is not going to feel how Tissa felt at the end. The other thing I wanted to share is that, and I'm wondering for Susan and Laurie, who were running their own, whether this happened, I have learned so many personal things about the launch team members for my launches and my clients' launches, things that are not posted on social media. And the reason we learn this is because we're doing polite, persistent follow-up, and they have the intention to write the review, and life happened and something disruptive happened, and they share why they're not getting back to you. And I've been able to use those moments to send money for a meal, to send a card, to send a basket, whatever the thing felt right in the moment. And I'm curious, like, Laurie, did some of the process sort of change? Like, it wasn't that they wrote your review, but you strengthened the relationship in a different way.
Yeah, particularly with the people that I had interviewed for my own podcast. And they're a lot of the people are authors, and some of them are very well-known authors. But the people that wanted to show up for me and had some major situation in their own life and shared that. And yeah, that was certainly never anything that went out onto social media or anything else, but it did cement the relationship. And it helped me just to also feel, oh, they're not just blowing me off. There's something real and something real, and they are willing to share it.
Right. The honoring the commitment they made by telling you why they can't do it.
Right.
And you're able to honor the relationship, which was really the point, by not making it about the review.
Exactly.
And that amazing thing happens. So Susan, did anything like that come up for you in your launch?
Without question. And it's still, I was really glad that you highlighted in your book that people might feel uncomfortable. They might feel bad and want to avoid you. And if they haven't lived up to their commitment. And I understood that. And so I had over 135 people in my I had 135 people on my book team, but only about half of them actually posted.
Which is a
And so
fantastic
the
percentage. I just want to say 50% of a
okay.
list that size is a fantastic percentage. All right, move on. But yeah, there are people, they may still want to do it.
And there's people who still want to do it. And so what's interesting is I'm encouraging them two things. It does give you this opening to say, hey, I get it. If there's other things going on in your life, I get it. There's other ways you can support me, or not for now. I just take some pressure off. But it did lead to some fascinating conversations. And I will say that it still was that follow-up process that you suggest is a little cringy at some points when you go, I'm sending this again. So I had to keep coming up with ways to make it funny. I had a whole theme about coffee. I am sitting here drinking a cup of coffee. So I'm always talking about, hey, pouring another coffee, the little espresso shot things you can do that are simple right now. It caused me to be creative to say, if someone kept following me up, would I feel this was fun or was this annoying? And it made it a little harder to make sure I was coming with some fresh perspective or insight.
I love the personality piece so much. For Tissa, as we talked about, like, not everyone's going to write a review. You actually had a really high percentage of the overall number. I don't remember what your number was, but it was like 58 or 60%.
It was close to 60, I think.
Yeah, it was like 60% at the time. I actually don't know if I have worked with anyone who's reached that number. Because if you have, 400 people, it's really hard to reach that number. But when you have a smaller list, it's a more chosen selected group. So it's really interesting how the numbers worked out. What unexpected next steps happen? So, like, not everyone writes a review, as we know, but some of those really engaged people probably reached out in other ways for collaborations or podcast interviews or lives, or I don't know, like, what sort of transpired because you reached out and you didn't just keep saying, like, where's the review, but you, like, open the door for the relationship again.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, this was a perfect example, and it's something that's still underway, but a discussion. One of my launch team members is on the board of a professional association. And so the fact that he got to read the book very early, when it launched, sent it to his other board members. And then they reached out and said, not only would I like to come and speak at their event, but they have a bookstore. And this is a very large international association. So could we talk about licensing it in the bookstore, but also potentially partnering on some continuing education opportunities for the association? So those all just very early, but I would never have thought, I knew he was on this board, but it just, in my mind, that's great. He would have bought one copy. But so those larger opportunities, and I think he felt kind of some ownership, right? Because he was so excited to have been part of this, and he read it early. He loved it. He kind of like almost literally took it under his wing and said, I've sent it to a bunch of people. And I thought, oh, that's really nice of you. Thank you. But he literally did. And it turned into these great conversations, and in a way I hadn't thought about. So there's other associations too, where I'm going to send out 5 or 6 copies and say, hey, I'm in conversations to do this. What about you? That was not part of my business model or my business plan. So it's almost like unexpected little upsides.
Awesome. That's really exciting to have your launch team basically offer you a whole new revenue idea that you hadn't thought of, but they really carry it forward and they help pave the way. I'm really interested in inviting people to more actively participate in the work that we do. This is why I don't talk about funnels. Funnels, we're supposed to keep people in the funnel, but they have no agency about where they're going, whether they want to go there. What we're doing is, like, there is a clear path. It's a pipeline, but it's an invitation to keep going as far as they want, as fast as they want. They can jump steps. And they don't have to do it. Like, the review is the ask, but really it's the invitation. It's the invitation to explore other possibilities. I have a client right now that just wrote me the review for my book. We're in the middle of launching theirs. And they were on my team. They loved my book. They booked me as a client, and then they never wrote the review. I I actually wasn't even sure if they'd read it. Like, they just loved how the launch went. And so we're talking about their stuff, and I sort of in my like PS cheeky way was like, oh, and it's never too late to leave your review as we're talking about doing follow-up. And they're like, oh gosh. And then they did it. So like, it's strange things. And I think what Tissa mentioned earlier is tracking people's interaction with you so that after a launch, and this is something that if you've been DIYing through my book, go back and look at who downloaded the ARC, who left a review, obviously who said yes to be on the launch team, who came to a private event if you had one, who came to the public launch party, who said yes to whatever your call to action was during the launch party, and who did more than 2 things, who did more than 3 things, like that kind of engagement shouldn't be overlooked. And sometimes we discover some sort of hidden gems that we wouldn't have, like what happened with Tissa was pretty cool. Now, the reason we're all here, and I just wanted to like touch on this because we're connected because of the Kindle Flash sale. So the way authors get to be part of these author panels is by signing up for one of my Kindle Flash sales that happen 3 times a year. And you can go to kindleflashsale.com to check out sort of what that looks like. And one of the things I ask these authors to do is to lower their Kindle book price to 99 cents for a period of time. And I have had some pushback occasionally from an author. What do you mean, clutch pearls? My book is way more valuable than that. Really missing the larger picture here about how the book fits in with the business. So Susan, like your book timing was, it had just launched. Tissa's also had just launched. Laurie's actually was not too far behind. All 3 of you are riding the wave of this, like out of the gate. How did this fit, Laurie? I'll go to you. How did this fit with your marketing plan, knowing you'd done a really strong, push at the very beginning of your book coming out, and then this opportunity came along in sort of the December 1st timeframe. Your book came out in the summertime. How did you think about this, and how would you answer that question about discounting a book to 99 cents? Was that even a concern? Did you think about that, or you're like, that's not...
I thought about it in terms of the length of it, like, well, why? The sale's only this long, but and then I gave that one up. You said whatever you said to me about it, and I gave it up. But it did allow me to go back to some of those people that said, oh yeah, I will write a review, and never did. And I could say, hey, here's another opportunity. You can get the book for 99 cents. And a few people did follow up on that. And a few people who bought it, and I know they bought it during the flash sale, who are reading it now and will leave a review. And even amongst the people that were part of the sale, there were connections with other podcasters for me to be a guest on their show. There, the option of leaving reviews for one another. All of those things really built towards that, again, that relational model. I'm hearing what Susan is talking about her book. I used to write on my website, make your big ideal real. So I'm going, wait, that sounds so familiar. So, that sense of connection, no matter what the dimension of that is or the level of that is, but that the reality is there are all kinds of threads to pull out and connect in a deeper way, including what you just said, Robbie, about, think about the reviews, think about the people that showed up. In saying that, you've just sparked a whole other idea, and some particular people just jumped out in my mind. I need to connect with them. They have, this whole circle. And so I will do
that. You just said, but why is it so much longer? So I have authors, for those who are listening, I have authors lower their Kindle book price to 99 cents 2 weeks before the sale, and to keep it even for a couple days after, because there's kind of a long tail around the marketing. And the 2 weeks before is to do exactly what Laurie just said. Reach out to people who were on your launch team and didn't follow through, or people you hadn't thought to invite or you just met, and let them know that your book's part of this campaign. And wouldn't it be wonderful if it had a few more reviews before the campaign goes live? By the way, it's only 99 cents right now if you haven't already gotten it. If you'd like, hit reply. I'll give you some review prompts to make this really easy. Now you know who said yes. You can nurture them for the next 2 weeks to see if they'll do it. And then when you go to promote the whole Kindle flash sale, it's really a thank you, because now you're giving them access to 50 plus books that are amazing.
Right.
And you're not just promoting your book over and over and over again. And I think if you already have some systems in place, which the three of you did, for doing this kind of outreach, it's probably a more natural segue for you to think about how to activate your network again at different intervals as we do these flash sales. But I have to say, a lot of this for me is me teaching people basic marketing. Like, there is so much of me just like hand holding people through thinking about marketing their book, because they did the just publish and hope for the best, which just you were saying for your first book, right? Like I'm my favorite of that, by the way, is Lois Kramer talking about how her first book, she opened her back door and yelled out into the backyard, "I have a book," and like closed the door, and like that was her announcement. So Tissa, what did you want to add?
Oh, that was literally what I did. I mean, and my grandmother was giving out copies at her gym. So that was not my target audience, for the record, but hey, well, I'm going to turn that down.
I'm going to save that anecdote in my head as well, because that's a really good one. Well, I appreciate all of you. And I am going to close with a question. What advice would you give someone who's writing a book to help them grow their business, speaking, coaching, consulting? Susan, I'll go to you to think about that. Again, advice, like it could be something we've already talked about, but something new, people who are listening in. What would you share with them, Susan?
Share your ideas. Once you capture them, create a rhythm of sharing them. It takes you to a new level of listening, and don't sit there with your little perfect manuscript sitting out there and go, "I got a book." It actually is your book writing is a process, and the book listening is a process.
I love that. That's really cool. Laurie, how about you?
Well, the few things that are all connected. It's never too late. And to Susan's earlier point about that, and that you have something to say and something to share, and the sharing is in the book, and it's more than the book, and that it's worthy of being seen and heard and received.
That's right. Gosh, I mean, part of it's like the two things you just said, both of you. If you share your book, you get that validation back, which makes you feel more confident about sharing the book, which is I mean, it's a cycle. And if you hold on to it, then how do you even know it's a good book? Like, it's just like, it's very precious, but you don't know if it's good. Tissa, you've now been through this grind twice. It sounds like you're on a third journey, which is incredible that you're already kind of making that way. What's the advice you'd share?
I would make sure that it's a topic you're very passionate about. This is not a commercial endeavor. This is for example, there's times where I'll do my keynote that's related to the book 4 times in a week, maybe 5 if one's virtual, 3 or 4 are in person, or some combination. And if you're not loving it, the audience can tell. And so it's just, I moved around the order of which books I'm going to write next, because I knew how passionate I was about this one. I know how passionate I am about the next one. And I knew that this was the time. So you're not so excited about it, no one else is going to be.
That's great. I heard someone the other day say, be planning to talk about the book for the next decade. And if that sounds like a horror show, this is not a book you should write.
100%.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're out there speaking so frequently about your content. I mean, that's proof positive that you've turned this book into a business asset, because each one of those probably has the opportunity to like sell bulk orders of books, or sell in the back of the room, or sponsored by. There's like so many different ways books and speaking go together. And one thing I think that authors, that I'll share as advice, is hang out with other successful authors, because that's where you pick up these tips. That's when you learn about how to package your book with your speaker fee, and how to give a few so they feel like they have some, but so many that they feel like they might as well buy one for everyone. There's these little tips, how to get a sponsor, how to get money from a different budget. There's so many things that you would not know if you didn't hang out with people who are doing this all the time and experimenting all the time. Thank you all. I'd love to now do a quick check on how people can find you and follow your work. Susan, what are the best ways for people to connect with you?
So connect on LinkedIn. That's good. I'm Susan Bailey Schramm on LinkedIn. And the other is you go to fasttrackyourBigIdea.com.
fasttrackyourbigidea.com. We'll put these links in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com. Laurie, how about you?
People can find me at thebacainstitute.com. It's right there on the screen, although if they're just listening to it, they won't see it. And Baca is BACA. And the book is available there, or at least the links to that, and all kinds of other support for people discovering their own connection with Source and their own inner guidance system.
I love it. And Tissa, how can people find you and follow your work?
Yeah, so I am Tissa Richards on LinkedIn or tissarichards.com. That's TISSA. And, I'm always out speaking, so it's very easy I'm probably in your city at any given time.
I'm like, I will
Right.
see you at the corner store next
Yeah,
day. Yeah,
exactly.
That's fantastic. All these links are going to be in the show notes, including links to your books, your LinkedIn. If you have a YouTube, all that's going to be in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com. And you'll also find show notes for all the other incredible panels and one-on-one interviews that I've done of this podcast. Just a treasure trove of really wonderful feedback from authors who are living this. Like, this is the real truth that they're going to give you the highs and the lows of this whole author journey and the ROI of writing a book for a business. We also host free virtual happy hours that you'll find out about our networking events. If you go to bizbookpubhub.com, you'll learn about the networking events we have for speakers and for authors. We have the Kindle flash sales. You'll learn about that there as well. And a curated directory of experts who are there to support you wherever you are in your author journey, writing, editing, publishing, launching, or marketing. So definitely check out all these amazing resources at bizbookpubhub.com. And thank you, panel, one more time for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
for all
such
you
a-
do,